Could you hear me? There we go. It's finally working. Yeah, I'm so glad you could make it. The first thing I really ask is just, where are you calling from?
Texas.
Fullerton.
From Czechia.
Seattle.
Arkansas.
Vancouver, BC.
Louisiana.
And wherever you're tuning in from, welcome to Milking Ardor. If you're new here, hi. My name is Spencer Chan, and this is my podcast, Milking Ardor. On this podcast, we hear all sorts of stories from people from around the world. We hear people's life lessons that they've learned, the experiences they face, and the passions they are pursuing. If this sounds interesting to you at all, please help me spread the word, because Milking Ardor is primarily word of mouth advertisement. So if you could help me get the word out, I would love that a lot. On episode 13, this episode, we're going to be talking to several guests, and the first being Matthew May. And if you've listened to the previous episodes, Matthew May is actually one of the primary artists I go to for the music for this podcast. Then we'll listen to Will. Will just gives insight on farm life and just late night thoughts, things that keep him up at night. Then finally, we're going to hear about a pursuit of happiness, a pursuit to happiness, and we'll hear that from none other than Sophie Beck. So before we get into the interviews, I'm going to cue sponsorship and we'll get right into it. Hey, could you hear me?
That's good.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much for being on my show, Matthew.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on.
Yes. So just to go over two things really, because you already asked before if we were using cameras, which is one of the things I normally go over. So as I've already mentioned, no cameras. The second thing is just to do a sound check. So if you could just count to 10 real fast, and we'll see how your sound is.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Perfect, thank you. And the last thing is just to say you could swear on my podcast. I don't know if that's a big thing you do or whatever, but
I probably swear.
Just so you know.
All right.
You could totally swear. Just don't go too overboard. And don't be saying any harsh
No, I won't. Don't
things.
worry.
Yeah. What's going on for you? It's like 4:00 for you.
Ever since this virus, I just sit inside and do music. So it's my life right now.
Yeah. For those who don't know you, a good starting point is your name and where you're calling from.
My name is Matthew May, and I live near Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah. And I don't know your relationship status, but if you were on a first date, what would you say to said date for them to really get an idea of who Matthew May is?
Oh, Jesus. What would I say to someone? God, how would I preface myself? I haven't certainly lived a thrilling life, so I don't. What would I say to someone? I guess that is a deep question. Maybe I'd bring up.
Well, how about an elevator pitch? Does that make things a little bit easier?
Something to grab their attention. Maybe I would just. Honestly, I would just bring up my music thing. Maybe they'll think I'm a nerdy loser. If that's the case, it is what it is. But if not, then good.
Yeah, and for those who don't really know what you mean in terms of music thing, is this like producing or is this singing, playing? What is this for you?
I wish I could sing. I play piano, I play guitar, play ukulele if that counts, and I produce. It's my main thing right now.
Yeah, I've been following you for a while, and as you mentioned, music is just everything for you now. How do you get into that?
Well, I've been involved in music a long time. I started playing piano probably when I was 4 or 5, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade. I was in band. I was in marching band. I was always in extracurricular music activities. I was in piano lessons and guitar lessons. I guess so. Production was just a necessary next step because I've always used computers. I was a really big computer gamer a while ago, and so I always used computers. And I guess combining my knowledge of computers and music, production just was a natural next step for me.
Yeah, and then it seems you're producing a lot more, as well as just making your own stuff. How did you get into producing? What made you think, I want to do this for people?
Well, I bought a MIDI controller, which is what you use to control the sounds. Because when I was in marching band, I played the synthesizer, so I started to learn about some of this
Hello,
technical.
Matthew?
Hello, you hear me?
I think I lost you.
That's not good. I can still hear you,
Hello?
but you can't hear me, can you?
Matthew, hello?
How about now?
Hello?
Hello?
There's something. Yeah, there we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. You
That's
just kind of cut
strange.
out.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Where
yeah,
were
if you could
we?
just recapitulate what you're saying about how you got into producing and how you wanted to work with other people and make your own stuff.
Right. Well, I started when I was in marching band. I played the synthesizer, which was like this keyboard. I controlled a lot of sounds, kind of similar to what I was doing now. So I
Yeah,
learned
yeah.
about the MIDI controllers, and so I bought one, and it came with software, and I plugged it in my computer. I didn't know how to use it, but I just started messing around with it, and I just slowly got better with it, and I came to really enjoy it. Eventually, I saw people were posting these instrumentals to YouTube, and so I wanted to try doing it. And I
Yeah.
started a while ago, like September of 2018. And it took me a while to actually get going. I actually stopped doing YouTube for like 9 or 10 months at one point because I just thought it wouldn't work. But
Hmm.
it ended up working, and now it's kind of the main thing I'm doing.
Yeah, yeah. And then you're also working with other creators and artists, right?
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm trying to do. I mean, my goal is obviously I don't want to be making YouTube beats for a living. I
Yeah.
eventually want to I eventually want to work with artists. So I am trying to reach out to people, and to work with them.
Yeah. I mean, just to go on top of that, like in regards of pre-producing, how do you suggest changes to the song that you're working with another artist without kind of upsetting them or changing it too much?
Well, if someone wants me to change a song, I mean, I'll usually do it if I want to suggest something. I mean, if I'm working with an artist, because people will pay me sometimes for like custom songs. And I mean, at the end of the day,
Hmm.
it's their song. So
Yeah.
I think with music, you can't get offended. I mean, like I say, I tell people, if it sucks, just tell me it sucks, and then because everyone's got different
Mm.
taste.
Yeah. And then just kind of going on top of the YouTube thing, because I've been plugging in every episode. Like Matthew May is the person that I've been using the beats for.
I see.
Um,
Yes.
and then a lot of your beats are free for profit.
Right.
A lot of people on YouTube right now are just sure they're creating their songs or whatever low key beat it may be, but they're also trying to profit from it where it's
Hmm.
not free for you. So how come you're not trying to capitalize in this business right
Well,
now?
actually, I do make money, and here's how. So there's a lot of people just do free beats. Mine are free for profit, meaning I do not put content ID on my beats, which means if you want to put my beats, say like you do on Spotify or on YouTube or on SoundCloud and monetize it, you can do that without having to buy anything. But if you want
Hmm.
to put it on Spotify to like sing over, or Apple Music or something like that, you want to put it on a streaming platform to sing over, you have to buy a lease, and
Yeah.
and not just for copyright reasons. Maybe the music distributor wants a lease. And I make most of my money through selling exclusives, so people who want to actually like own the beat.
Hmm.
And I make pretty minimal YouTube ad revenue. It's not very good for YouTube producers, but uh, yeah, I mean, people like being able to use my my songs on their YouTube videos and monetize them. It gives them a little more freedom with it without having to spend money. But I think in a way, it does help me make more money because it helps me get more exposure. I mean, I'm sure
Exposure. Yeah,
you
right
might have
on.
you might have found my beats through looking for free for profit stuff. I mean, I'm not quite
Hmm.
sure. Yeah, so yeah.
Yeah. So then where do you see yourself in like 10 years? Do you see yourself just blowing up or maybe taking a break from music? What's going on?
In 10 years, well, I mean, again, my hope is that I'm end up producing for artists. So in 10 years, I hope I'm not making YouTube beats anymore. I mean, my goal in 10 years would be I'm producing for artists. I have good connections with artists. And yeah, then I'm able to, mainly produce for artists.
Yeah. And just to kind of close a little bit, what's next for you? I know it's super weird during quarantine,
Hmm.
and music is everything for you. But what are your next steps?
Well, I mean, at the moment, because obviously I can't really go out. There's no studios to go into
Yeah.
right now. I'm just gonna, keep grinding on the YouTube thing. I mean, it's been successful for me. I mean, I've made a lot of connections with it. I've met a lot of people through it. I've been more successful with it than I ever thought I would be. So my
Hmm.
next hopeful step is when this virus is finally, over, that, if I made connections out in California, that I would move or take some sort of next step to start meeting people in person. But for now, with this virus, I'm inside in my room.
Yeah, yeah. And then to finally close, do you have any last minute thoughts? And of course, anything you want to shout out?
Anything I want to shout out? Well, I guess, like I said, shout out my YouTube channel. It's just my name, Matthew May. Shout out my Instagram. It's Matthew May Music. And any final thoughts? Final
Yeah.
thoughts. Let me think. I don't know. I don't have a particular.
Matthew, I don't know if you could hear me, but you cut out again. Hello? Hello?
Final thought. I can't think of anything off the.
There we go. I could
Oh
hear you
God.
again. I don't know if you could hear me, but you cut out.
Yeah, I don't know. That's, man. Zoom is weird. I don't know.
Yeah. 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 Any final thoughts?
Jeez. Like, actually, what I was saying is, I don't know. I couldn't think of a final thought off the tip of my tongue.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on, and thanks for using my beats. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you for taking the time and to chat with me, and I'm glad I could give you more exposure and share your story.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. I'll keep you posted.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. I don't know your relationship status. Will. Okay, do you go by Will or do you go by like what do you go by?
Will.
Will. All right.
Yeah.
I don't know your relationship status, Will, but if you're on a first date or let's say you transferred schools and you have to introduce yourself to everybody, what are you saying for people to really get an idea of who you are?
Oh, I honestly wouldn't have much a clue. I'd probably pretty much say, I'm used to being alone. I'm one of those people who let people come to me. I'm not super outgoing. I've never really been rejected in like any way, but that's mainly because I've never gone out there. But I reckon I might have a fear of rejection. I'm not really sure though, because I never have been.
You mentioned that you have people that come to you. What's that about? Is that just kind of the introversion
Oh,
of yourself, or people just naturally gravitate towards you to talk about whatever?
no, like in primary school, I was really extroverted. I was really outgoing. But ever since high school, my life's been going a bit downhill. And, I let people come to me. I'm not super outgoing. Say, for example, like I want to ask someone to come to go to the cinemas with me or something. I'm like not going to want to ask them or like point out that, I'm going to the cinemas on Sunday or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't actually ask if they wanted to come. I'd let them ask me if they can come.
Yeah. So, I mean, just kind of through society's eyes, a lot of people could see this like, oh, he's kind of like a downer. He's kind of like, okay, now I'm not saying I believe this, but there are people who are saying like, oh, yeah, introversion or being by yourself is like kind of like a loser status quo. But I actually don't see it that way. I mean, how are you feeling about it? Do you feel
support it.
supporting which part? The liberation of it, or just kind of it's not a good thing to be alone?
I support introverts.
Yeah.
I like to be alone. I like my alone time. I have plenty of it living out where I do. But again, like last ISO, once I haven't seen another person for 3 months, it gets to me.
Yeah.
So,
Totally understand. I mean, I myself identify as an ambivert, so I totally love being extroverted, but of course I'd also like to sit down and just do my own thing. For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, what type of things are you doing by yourself? How are you kind of getting yourself through this quarantine?
Oh, well, one thing that I've recently started doing this week is for some of my mates, I game with them. I'm not a super big gamer.
Yeah.
I would like to be, but I'm not really that much of. But I'll hop in a voice call with one of my mates and play some games with them or something, online games.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's real. Yeah, it's really helped because it's just really relaxed. You don't really have to worry about anything. Yeah.
For sure. I mean, what's been on your mind recently, Matt or William? I keep on seeing William, Matt, and I keep calling you Matt.
That's right.
Yeah, what's been on your mind recently, Will?
Oh, honestly, not much. But whenever there is something on my mind, I'm one of those people who stay up till 2 a.m. thinking about the most random stuff.
Like what? What's
Like,
something really profound you thought of recently?
I don't want to be real cocky, but before I think about some really weird stuff, but also some quite like high level stuff. Like I remember one thing I was really excited about is one of the Avengers movies, the Endgame, I think it was. I remember I was thinking about Back to the Future one time and how the way they did that, it was totally wrong about time travel. Their theory, I remember I was thinking about it, and I thought it was completely wrong, but I'm like, I don't know. But then I watched Endgame, and their theory to time travel was completely the same as mine. And, it's just kind of stuff like that I think about, and half the time I forget what I'm thinking about.
Just to kind of cover that, what's that theory for those who don't know Endgame that well?
So, pretty much in, what's it called? Back to the Future, it's pretty much that you can't see yourself because then it's going to break the time thing. So pretty much the biggest problem was that whatever the kid's name was, he couldn't go see himself.
Yeah.
Because that would change the past. And, I'm real bad at explaining it. But yeah, if it changed the past, apparently it would mess up the space-time continuum. But how it theoretically is and what they portrayed it as in Endgame was Murphy's Law, whatever will happen, whatever can go wrong will go wrong. So pretty much anything that will happen anything that can happen will happen. For example, if you go back in time, you can go see yourself, you can do anything. You can still die, but it's not going to change anything. Because say, for example, you went back and just had said hello to yourself, but you were dressed differently and you couldn't tell it was you. Well, say you went back 3 years. Well, 3 years earlier, when these events haven't happened, you're going along, this weirdo comes up to you and says hi, and you just don't think much of it, and you forget it.
Yeah.
But, later in life, you realize that you do that, and you got to kind of finish the chain. I'm real bad at explaining.
No, yeah, I totally understand. Kind of to go on top of that, what do you think about of destiny? Do you believe that destiny exists? I mean, this kind of ties into the whole time travel thing. I mean, if you go back in time and converse with your old self not knowing, does that change destiny? How do you feel about destiny?
First of all, I don't believe in gods at all. My mum, her family, they went to church every Sunday, but she hated it. She didn't really believe in it.
Mm-hmm.
But once her dad died, she went back to Christianism to, help her cope with the fact that, he's in a better place now. And, I might do the same one day, but at the moment, I support people who believe in religion, who are religious, but I think it's bullcrap. But like you said, the destiny, well, the second the universe kind of started, our destiny is sealed. Because like the time travel thing, say long in the future, we could go back to when humans first were evolving.
Yeah.
Well, we could watch the time lay out, and no matter what you do, the exact same event is going to happen. Like whatever I said before, whatever can happen will happen, kind of, or something like that. But so destiny, yes, it's kind of a thing, but some people portray it as, it's what they're meant to do, but in reality, it's what they were going to do no matter what.
I think it's so interesting because, oh man, okay, this is going to be like a rough topic because I used to go to a Catholic school, but it kind of goes on about free will, if I may, and
Yeah.
it's very interesting that we're able and that we have this ability to comprehend everything and really make decisions. But because of the decisions we make, we could also be conflicted about what we want to do. So if everything is lined up and if you go on to Destiny saying like, oh, that's going to happen anyways, it really makes you wonder why we have to be so conflicted in the mind when making decisions. But then you could also say that it's to make you a better person. You have to go through these challenges. Oh man, we could totally go into this.
I get what you're saying there.
Yeah.
But it's not our destiny that makes us make those decisions. It's us making those decisions that gives us that destiny.
Yeah, that's an interesting take on that. I mean, okay, so you're pretty young. Do you have like people you're able to converse these like woke thoughts about, or what's going on? How do you feel just kind of mingling among your peers?
I'm a very talkative person. Not so much now, but I still am.
Yeah.
I can get lost in conversation for hours, and I have a few mates that, in the middle of class while we're doing our work, we'll just talk about some random stuff. And, like, I love just getting lost in conversation, especially something I'm interested about, like me. I love space, I love science, things like that.
Yeah.
And so if you ask me a question that has anything to do with science or something, and I know what it is, I will not stop. And sometimes I have to say to myself, stop talking, you're probably pushing them away, and they probably hate you because you're talking so much.
And to be fully transparent, there are going to be people in life who are totally going to be annoyed by you talking about your passions.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, you're going to find people who are going to love you for your passions. And it's really nice kind of being at an introversion level where you could just sit down and just really listen to someone talk. I think that's really beautiful about relationships.
Like, one thing I love to do, I live like 3 hours out of a big city, which is Melbourne.
Okay.
When we do go to Melbourne, we normally, if we get a hotel, we'll stay up pretty high. And I love just to sit by the window and watch people just do their thing. My mum does it as well. We love to watch people do their thing, kind of like a zoo almost.
I mean, from personal experience, I kind of travel a lot. Well, not really. I kind of go to school and then come back to where I am, home, and I just kind of just put down my phone sometimes and just watch the people just move around in the airport. And I remember telling my friend about this, and she's like, Spencer, that's really fucking weird. I was like, oh. And she's like, yeah, you're kind of a stalker, but to be honest, I still don't see it that way. I'm not a stalker. I just like to see people do their own thing, be caught up in their own heads.
Like I was saying earlier, like when I go to bed, sometimes I just stare at the ceiling and think. It's like that.
Yeah.
You just turn your mind off and just watch. You just let it play out in front of you.
Also, it's the best feeling. It's one of the best feelings in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, right on. I mean, just to kind of close, Will, do you have any last minute thoughts or anything you want to shout out?
Oh, honestly, not really, buddy. Thinking's okay. It's perfectly fine to think. I'm not really sure. But yeah, I don't remember where I heard this, but I heard someone saying that what was it? Oh, I can't really remember, but people who acquire are generally more not intelligent, but more, what's the word? I'm not sure. I'm just gonna go with intelligent. Because, people who acquire have more time to think to themselves, and they're normally talking to themselves. And a person who thinks is going to be way smarter than someone who Oh, I just butchered that.
No,
It's
I
pretty much
totally
someone
understand.
who thinks is really intelligent.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Where extroverted people are more likely to go out and be with friends, whereas introverted people
Mm,
are sure they could hang out with friends, but they're really processing and taking everything in rather than trying to do a lot of things.
yeah,
Sure, I totally understand that. Right on. Well, thank you so much, Will, for
no
chatting with me.
problem.
And
It was great.
this was really fast. I mean, like I was
Thank you.
mentioning
Yeah.
before, my first interview I ever did was kind of just like this, where I did it right in the moment. Scheduling a interview with someone in Scotland, and we end up conversing. It was like 6 a.m. for her, and it was like 1 o'clock in the morning for me. I thought I was able to do it, but then it was so bad. It was so awkward
Yeah.
and kind of dark. She had a dark story,
Mm,
and I was kind of worried going into this one. I was like, oh shoot, I hope this isn't as awkward.
yeah.
But no, you're really easy to
Yeah.
talk to.
Sorry about.
No, you're super easy to talk
Yeah.
to, and
Um.
I'm glad we were able to just chat about everything.
One.
We did.
Like I was saying, we live on a massive farm, 3 kilometers. We don't have schedules. Whenever things come up, we just have to go. For example, like how many cow we milk about one 1,400 cows
Wow,
every morning and night.
1,400.
Yes,
Wow.
every morning and night. Probably at the moment we only milk 1,100. Probably 300 of them we're drying off. But yeah, also we have to pull calves out of them because calves are massive.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, we're really busy and we honestly don't have much time of a timetable because whenever something comes up, we'll just get up and go.
For sure.
And so there's not much time like I have now, where I just have an hour or two off just to relax.
Yeah. I mean, thank you so much, Will, for just taking the
Yeah.
time and to chat with me.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, I'll keep you posted on what is to come, and I will see you later.
All right, thank you.
It's Barney.
Right on. I mean, how's your day been so far?
It's been pretty good. I've just been doing school and classes and stuff, so
Sure.
nothing too special, but it's been good.
Yeah. A good question I like to ask, just as a good introduction, is what's your name and where are you calling from? I feel like that's a really good starting point.
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Sophie, Sophie Beck. I don't know if you want my full name, but um, so I'm Sophie, and I am from Salt Lake City, Utah.
Okay. Nice. I just had a friend recently move there, so I hope them
Oh,
the best if
nice.
they're moving.
That's awesome.
Yeah, really excited for them. So I don't know your relationship status, Sophie, but let's say you are single and you're on a first date. What are you saying for that person to initially get an idea of who you are?
That's a good question. I feel like I get kind of awkward on first dates because
Yeah, for sure.
like I said in like my first TikTok video, I'm really critical of myself. So I find myself kind of overanalyzing the things that I'm doing, especially when I'm on a date. Um,
Hmm.
but I definitely try to just be like as genuine as possible. Because I think that's something that is like easily reciprocated. So if I'm just trying to be my genuine, authentic self, then I'll trust that I can see that side of them as well.
Sure. Is there anything like super crucial that really illustrates who you are as a person, just kind of deep down?
Um, I don't know. I think I try to be like just a super kind, respectful person. So I definitely try to put a focus on making sure that whoever I'm with feels comfortable around me and that they know that I'm not going to judge them.
Yeah, right on. So you kind of mentioned your first TikTok. Let's kind of
Yeah.
discuss that a little bit because that's kind of how I found you, was just through your dedication diaries and just kind of
Yeah.
the pursuit of being happy.
hmm
How'd that start? What is this exactly?
So this is a project I've kind of wanted to do something like this for a while. Um, and when I started getting involved with TikTok, I was like, okay, this could be a really cool place for me to do this because the videos aren't longer than a minute, so it's easy to keep them kind of short and simple to the point.
Yeah.
Um, and like I said, I'm super critical of myself, and I'm always, finding things that I wish were different about me or that I would like to change. But with the whole COVID shutdown and everything being so negative in the world, I thought that the last thing I need is to be negative towards myself.
Mm.
If anything, I should be using this added time that I have to kind of self-isolate and be alone. I should be using that time to really get to know myself, and not only get to know, but also get to have a good relationship with who I am.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that was kind of the jumping off point for the project.
for sure. What initially sparked this interest in wanting to portray or do this project?
Yeah, well, I think just with everything going on in the world, and especially in America right now, just every time I open my phone and see social media, people are fighting and there's so much conflict and controversy and everything. And so I thought that maybe if I could kind of share a journey that is a positive one, and it's one about learning to love myself, which is something that I think everyone goes through, that by just trying to make it as relatable and authentic as possible, that maybe I could kind of, even if it's just like for the 1 minute that they're watching my video, just kind of make people feel a little bit lighter about things.
Yeah, I think what's really amazing about social media nowadays, sure, you could spread the word around of practically anything, and especially with small creators, kind of such as yourself and
Hmm.
myself, or just anyone just really trying to spread a positive message, you're able to do that nowadays. You don't have to
Yeah.
go through a long process of trying to get it into a newspaper or spread a commercial on TV. You could easily do it from your phone for making TikToks or YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. It's really accessible, which I think is super cool.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, do you have like other hobbies besides kind of just school and work? Like, how else do you spend your time on planet Earth?
Yeah, so I'm definitely a creative person. I grew up as a dancer, so my whole life I've been creating, whether it's new movement or things like that. I just love to create things. So I've stopped dancing now, but in the past years I've gotten really involved with things like photography and videos and stuff, and then also like painting and graphic design and stuff like that has been really cool.
Yeah. Even just looking on your Instagram, it kind of seems like you kind of have this certain aesthetic. Would you say
Uh-huh.
that? Would you have like a certain aesthetic you try to go for, or a
I
certain
think
way you try to
so.
portray yourself?
Yeah, I think I that's another thing that I have, is that I get nervous when I post something, because I'm like, oh, like, what if people aren't gonna like it? What if this and this and this and that? And then I just kind of try to remind myself, well, if I'm doing what I like, and if I like it and I think it looks good, then I'm just gonna go with it. So I think um, as far as creating an aesthetic goes, I just try to do something that is like appealing to me and that I'm gonna feel proud of.
Yeah, and that kind of translate to not just kind of your photography, but also your film,
Hmm. Yeah,
for sure.
definitely.
Especially with like all the chaos going on, what's something that you really wish people learned or really understood?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I would say would just be learning to understand things from other people's point of view. Like, obviously, it's impossible to know 100% what someone is going through, but I think, especially like in America, there's so much disconnect, and people are just kind of going head to head and not really taking in consideration other points of view. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's one thing that I really try to push myself to do, is if I see someone that I don't necessarily agree with, or a thought that I want to like attack firsthand, I try to get a better understanding of it before I kind of make a snap judgment saying, oh no, that's stupid, or oh no, that's dumb.
Yeah, how do you think people should go on about kind of starting to be empathetic and really take in stuff rather than just trying to reject everything?
Yeah, I think obviously like getting a bunch of different sources is an awesome thing to do. Like, whether it's the people you're following on Instagram or social media, or where you're getting your news, I think just taking that little bit of extra effort that it takes to get a wider range of view and get more perspectives and
Mm-hmm.
ideas into the media that you're consuming, I think is something simple that can make a really big difference.
Yeah, right on. Just to close, I mean, where do you see like yourself in a few years, or do you have any like big goals you want to be, or big goals you want to achieve?
Yeah, I think they're pretty simple. Like I would just like to be in a place where I feel confident in myself and also a place where I'm helping other people, whether that's like
Mm,
through having a certain amount of followers that I can like inspire on social media, that would be awesome. But even if it doesn't reach very many people, I just want to be able to be kind of a positive influence and light for others.
for sure. Do you have any last minute thoughts or anything you want to shout out, Sophie?
Um, I don't think so. I just want to say thank you for letting me be on this podcast. I listened to a little bit of it before this, and I think it's a really cool project that you're doing. So thanks for letting me be a part of it.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm just trying to interview and meet new people and just kind of spread good word.
Yeah,
Positive
I think that's
messages.
awesome.
Thank you. All right, I'll keep you posted on what is to come.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, enjoy your day.
Thanks, you too.
Special thanks to all the artists used in today's episode. Thank you, Barney, Pink, Lukrembo, and of course, Matthew May. Thank you for the guests for being on this episode. Matthew May, once again, Will, and Sophie Beck. Check them out if you just want to hear more about them. They're lovely people and they do lovely things. If you want to be on the podcast, you can reach out to me on Instagram at _Spence_R_. Search up Milky and Ardor pretty much anywhere to hear more Milky and Ardor sorts. Once again, this podcast is primarily word of mouth advertising. So, if you could share this podcast with your friends, your families, your coworkers, acquaintances, whoever, or even just post it on social media, say, hey, check out this podcast, I would love that a lot. I love just hearing more and different lifestyles that I am more known with, if that makes sense. I just like to hear new perspectives, and I want to share that with as many people as possible. So, without kind of anything else, that's it for me. So, it's been a lovely episode 13. I will see you next week, and until then, I will see you later.